Have you ever felt like your life is collapsing without a reason? Like everything happens to you, never through you? You call it bad luck, chaos, coincidence, but nothing, absolutely nothing, is random. Every event, every face, every silence is a domino in an invisible line, a sequence started by something you thought was forgotten, a thought, a reaction, a vibration you emitted when you were not even aware of yourself. What if what you call random is simply a reflection, the echo of your own mind returning to you through form? This is the Hermetic law of cause and effect, the law that ends the illusion of chance and reveals that behind every accident, there is architecture. But before you can see it, you must face the greatest illusion of the modern world, the illusion that you are not responsible for what you live. Look around. The world today is addicted to the narrative of chaos. Everything seems to happen out of nowhere. Anxiety strikes without reason. People appear and disappear from your life by chance. One day, everything flows. The next, everything collapses. You try to make sense of it, but the more you try, the more it feels like life is mocking you, as if some external power moves the pieces while you just survive inside the board. You wake up every morning not as a creator, but as a survivor, scrolling through the feed, searching for a sense of direction that never arrives. The algorithms decide what you'll feel before you even open your eyes. You react, you consume, you drown, and at the end of the day you whisper to yourself, "I lost control again." But here's the truth no one wants to face. You didn't lose control today. You gave it away a long time ago. Every unconscious reaction, every time you believed that life just happens, you handed over a piece of your will. And now the fragments of that forgotten will are creating realities without your permission. This is not punishment. It's just the law working, quietly, perfectly, without bias. The law doesn't care if you believe in it. It acts, always. Imagine a line of dominoes stretching beyond sight. Each one represents a thought, an emotion, a choice. You knock over one, a reaction to something small, a word, a fear, an impulse, and the wave begins. At first you see nothing, because the line continues far away, through rooms of time you can't perceive yet. Then days later, one domino far ahead falls. A random event, an accident, a sudden opportunity, a relationship ending without clear reason. You say, "It just happened." But the truth is, you started it. The universe is not a stage of coincidences. It is a mirror of chains. Nothing appears alone. Everything is linked by invisible strings of vibration and intention. Even the smallest thought, a resentment held for years, a promise you forgot, is energy. And energy moves. Always. Always returning to its origin, like a boomerang made of consciousness. Hermes Trismegistus said it long before modern science could glimpse it. There is no such thing as chance. Every cause has its effect. Every effect has its cause. What we call luck or fate is simply our ignorance of the chain that connects things. The ignorant calls it coincidence. The initiate calls it law. And that distinction changes everything. Because when you stop calling chaos bad luck, you begin to see patterns. When you see patterns, you begin to understand rhythm. And when you understand rhythm, you stop being a victim. You become an operator of your own field. The Hermetic mind does not seek control by domination. It seeks control by comprehension. It doesn't fight the wave. It studies its frequency until it surfs it with precision. You don't need to force the world to obey you. You only need to understand the chain you've been setting in motion unconsciously. That's why your life feels like a storm, because you've been sending thunder and praying for silence. Every time you tell yourself it's not my fault, you surrender your authorship. Every complaint is a small contract with powerlessness. Every moment you react without awareness is a cause sent into the world, a new domino released, a new consequence in the making. And the more unconscious you become, the more chaotic your life feels. You mistake complexity for injustice, but the universe doesn't punish. It balances, always. This is why the modern soul feels exhausted, because it's trying to fix the effects without ever looking at the causes. We're obsessed with manifestation, but we ignore the roots of vibration. You say you want control, but control without understanding is just another form of ignorance. So the law waits, silently, not to punish but to reveal. And that revelation starts the moment you stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and begin asking, "What chain did I start that is returning now?" That question, simple and terrifying, is the beginning of initiation. What if every failure, every loss, every person who walked away was not random, but a precise effect of something you once set in motion? Would you still call it bad luck? Or would you dare to trace the thread back to its origin, to the first thought, the first fear, the first vibration you sent into the universe? Because that's where the illusion ends, and the true work begins. In the next step, we'll enter that invisible architecture, the Hermetic principle of cause and effect itself, and you'll see why nothing you've ever lived was accidental, not even this moment. What if nothing was random? What if every crack in your life was simply the echo of a vibration you once released, an equation you wrote without knowing the symbols? The truth is not cruel, it's precise. The universe is not chaos wearing a mask of order. It is order, temporarily disguised as chaos to awaken those who have forgotten the code. This is the Hermetic law of cause and effect, and once you see it, you can never return to sleep. The ancient Hermetists did not see the world as a field of luck. They saw it as a living mechanism, a conscious architecture of correspondences. Every cause, no matter how small, no matter how forgotten, creates an effect. Every effect, no matter how distant, no matter how confusing, is born of a cause. The ignorant sees only the middle of the chain, where the consequences explode. The initiate sees the entire thread, from thought to vibration, from vibration to form. The law of cause and effect is not punishment. It is justice vibrating through eternity. It is the cosmic mirror ensuring that nothing in creation escapes coherence. When you act in fear, you call fear back to you. When you act in clarity, the universe rearranges itself to echo that clarity. Nothing in your external life is separate from your internal vibration. Nothing. Picture a perfect circle drawn in gold light. In the center, your consciousness. Every thought, every intention sends a ripple outwards. That ripple travels through the field, touching people, events, moments, even atoms, until it reaches the edge of the circle. And from there, it returns. Always. That return is what you call fate. But fate is simply the echo of your own vibration, returning to its source. The untrained mind sees the echo and says, "This is random." The awakened mind recognizes the sound and whispers, "This is me." For centuries, humanity has feared the idea of responsibility, because to accept that everything has a cause is to accept that you are no longer a victim. And being a victim is comfortable. It lets you stay innocent inside the tragedy you created. But once you accept that your life is a mirror of your vibration, you cannot hide behind chance anymore. You have to see yourself fully. That's why this law is initiatory. It doesn't just explain the world, it demands transformation. Because when you see that you are both cause and effect, you can no longer blame. You can only choose differently. Carl Jung once wrote, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." This is the same law spoken in modern language. Your unconscious is the factory of causes. Every emotion you repress, every belief you refuse to examine becomes a hidden command, a vibration sent into the field. You may say, "I don't want to feel abandoned." But if your subconscious expects abandonment, that expectation itself becomes the cause. You meet people who mirror that vibration. You replay the same pain again and again until you see the pattern and end the loop. It's not magic, it's mechanics. Hermetic mechanics of the psyche. You are both the experiment and the scientist, both the cause and the laboratory. Think of a simple day. You wake up tired, you complain, "I hate my job." That thought is not harmless. It's a vibration. You repeat it every day. You speak it to others. You feed it energy. Weeks later, your body starts rejecting that environment. Opportunities collapse. You get fired, and you call it bad luck. But the truth is, the field only completed the command you kept giving it. Or perhaps you crave connection, but deep down you believe you're unworthy of love. So every relationship you enter vibrates with that hidden cause. You attract partners who confirm your belief, not because the universe hates you, but because it loves coherence. Until you change the vibration, the belief, the thought, the cause, the effect will remain the same. Nothing personal, only law. Today's world worships randomness. We glorify luck. We excuse irresponsibility by saying, life is unpredictable. But that is not humility, it is hypnosis. The algorithm, the market, even modern spirituality feeds this illusion that you are just a leaf in the wind. Just go with the flow, they say. But what flow? Whose current? The true Hermetic flow is not drifting without direction. It is aligning with the current you create by awareness. Every society that forgets the law of causality descends into victimhood. Every individual who remembers it rises into mastery. Because power is not in controlling the outer. Power is in remembering that the outer never existed apart from you. The Hermetic initiate learns this truth early. The effect is not separate from the cause. It is the cause revealed. So when you say, "This shouldn't have happened," the universe whispers, "It happened because it had to show you what you've been creating unconsciously." Nothing is random, not even your resistance. Every tear, every delay, every silence is a teacher wearing the mask of effect. The wise do not curse their effects. They study them, and through that study, they change the cause. That is the beginning of mastery. Tonight, before you sleep, don't scroll. Don't distract yourself. Close your eyes and choose one event from your day, something that disturbed you. Now trace it back. What thought or emotion preceded it? Who were you being seconds before it happened? Follow the thread. Don't justify. Observe. Feel the invisible domino line. This is the first exercise of an initiate, to see the invisible sequence behind appearances. The more you do it, the more patterns emerge, and soon you realize life was never chaotic. You were just too loud to hear its rhythm. The law of cause and effect is not meant to imprison you. It is meant to awaken you. Because once you truly see how it works, you can begin to operate it, to plant new causes consciously, to shape your future not by luck, but by design. In the next step, we'll enter the operator's mind, where thought becomes architecture, and intention becomes the seed of destiny. Because now that you know nothing is random, the only question that remains is, what are you willing to cause? Once you see that nothing is random, you face a new kind of responsibility, and with it, a new kind of power. Because if every effect comes from a cause and you are the source of countless causes, then every thought, every emotion is a seed. Your mind is the field. Your emotions are the water. Your attention is the sun. What grows, harmony or confusion, depends only on what you plant and how long you water it without noticing. The Hermetic operator is not someone who controls the universe. He simply understands how the universe reflects him. He no longer prays for luck. He works with law. This is the shift from survival to authorship, from noise to creation, from unconscious vibration to deliberate manifestation. Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine a room, silent, timeless, infinite. That room is your mind. Every thought you allow inside becomes a substance, a material vibration taking shape in that invisible space. Some of those thoughts are luminous, calm, coherent, magnetic. Others are distorted, heavy, chaotic, dissolving each other. Most people live unaware that they are chemists of their own chaos. They combine fear with projection, add resentment, stir with impatience, and then drink the potion, calling the taste fate. But the alchemist knows, the mind is not a prison, it is a laboratory, and every cause can be reformulated. In Hermetic language, a cause is not a single event, it's a pattern of energy, thought, the blueprint. It defines the structure of what you are creating. Emotion, the electricity, it charges the thought with life. Repetition, the ritual, it crystallizes the vibration into form. Every time you repeat a thought with emotion, you're performing a ritual. Whether you call it manifestation or self-sabotage, you are working magic, unconsciously. So the question is not whether you're manifesting, it's what you're manifesting and why. Modern physics calls it resonance. Psychology calls it conditioning. Hermetism calls it law. Different names, same truth. Energy organizes itself according to frequency. When you live in fear, you vibrate in contraction and attract forms of contraction. When you live in coherence, you vibrate in expansion and attract coherence. Not because of mystical favoritism, but because the field mirrors your internal state, like water taking the shape of the vessel that contains it. Your reality is simply your consciousness frozen in time. Think of your mind as a cathedral. Every belief you hold is a pillar, Every repeated emotion is a carved symbol on its walls. Most of these symbols were not chosen by you. They were carved by parents, society, trauma, habit. But now, as you awaken to the law of cause and effect, you become the architect. You can redesign the pillars. You can erase the inscriptions that no longer serve your temple. You can decide what kind of energy you allow to echo in those halls. And once the internal architecture changes, the external world, inevitably, reconfigures itself to match. For the next 7 days, observe this ritual. Morning awareness. Before touching your phone, ask, what vibration am I planting today? Feel it. Don't think it. Feel it. Midday mirror. At noon, pause. Observe one event that went wrong. Don't analyze it, just ask, what in me created this? Night transmutation. Before sleeping, visualize the event again, but this time, rewrite your reaction. Change the emotional tone. Feel what it would be like to have responded with awareness instead of habit. By repeating this, you rewire the field. You stop being the echo. You become the cause. That is how the operator begins his work. Every operator faces a gatekeeper, the reactive mind. It's the part of you that says, this is nonsense. It's not my fault. I don't have time for this. That voice is not evil. It's inertia. It's the psychological gravity that resists change. Because to become the cause is to dissolve the comfort of victimhood. The reactive mind fears responsibility, because responsibility means evolution. But once you cross that threshold, once you stop reacting and begin observing, you shift dimensions. Literally. You start living in a reality sculpted by consciousness, not by accident. Here's the paradox of this law. You cannot control everything, but you can influence everything, because influence comes from alignment, not domination. When your internal vibration aligns with coherence, the external world reorganizes to match it, not because you forced it, but because you became it. The initiate learns, control is not power, awareness is. Domination is illusion. Coherence is mastery. This is why nothing is random, because every pattern is you, reflected back through time. Repeat silently when you feel lost. I am the cause. My thoughts are seeds. My emotions are water. My awareness is the sun. And what I see is what I have grown. Let it echo in your breath. Let it become rhythm instead of repetition. This is not affirmation. It's remembrance. Because the truth was never hidden, only ignored. Now that you've learned to plant consciously, you'll face the second challenge, timing. Because every cause has its gestation, and many abandon the process before the effect can bloom. In the next step, we will open the next law intertwined with causality, the law of rhythm, and reveal why delay, chaos, and waiting are not punishment, but calibration. Because even when nothing seems to move, the universe is always responding. Always. You planted the seed. You changed your vibration. You stopped being the echo and became the cause. And yet, nothing seems to happen. Days pass. Silence. No sign. No proof. Doubt returns, whispering, maybe it doesn't work. Maybe it was all in my head. But what you call nothing is simply the space between the cause and the effect. That space is sacred. It is the womb of manifestation, where invisible geometry completes its course. The impatient call it delay. The wise call it rhythm. Hermes taught that everything in the universe moves in cycles. Everything rises and falls, flows and returns, vibrates and rests. The same current that governs the tides of the sea governs the timing of your own manifestations. Causality defines what you will experience. Rhythm defines when it will appear. Every cause travels through cycles of formation, mental, emotional, energetic, physical, until it condenses into reality. The delay is not resistance, it is orchestration. When you plant an apple seed, you do not curse the soil for not bearing fruit the next morning. You trust the law of rhythm. You know that the unseen process is still process. But when it comes to your desires, you forget that you are planting seeds in a multidimensional field, not ordering a product from the void. Our generation worships speed, instant feedback, immediate results. We want evolution to be downloadable and wisdom to be digestible in 60 seconds. But the universe does not rush, because rhythm is the guardian of order. If every cause produced instant effect, reality would collapse into chaos. The delay is the law's way of protecting coherence. When the Hermetic operator plants a cause, he does not stare at the ground impatiently. He tends to his vibration, knowing that the cause matures at the speed of his coherence. The rhythm between cause and effect is not a test of patience. It is a mirror of frequency. The more aligned you are, the shorter the cycle feels. The more chaotic you are, the longer it takes. Visualize a golden pendulum suspended in infinite space. Each swing, expansion and contraction, birth and death, success and loss. When you resist the motion, you feel torn apart by its rhythm. When you align with it, you move with grace through its oscillations. That pendulum does not punish, it teaches. Every down is preparing the next up. Every apparent setback is a swing returning energy to equilibrium. The initiate learns to move with the pendulum, not against it. To act in timing with the universe, not through impulse but through attunement. That is mastery in motion. Your nervous system is a reflection of cosmic rhythm. Every breath you take is a miniature pendulum. Inhalation, expansion, exhalation, contraction. When your inner rhythm collapses, your external life reflects the same chaos. Because the field always harmonizes with the signal you emit. That's why Hermetic practice begins with inner stillness, breathing, silence, observation. If you can regulate your internal tempo, you begin to regulate your external destiny. So when nothing seems to move, ask not, why is nothing happening? But what rhythm is being restored within me? Impatience is the mind's rebellion against divine timing. It is the ego's refusal to trust the rhythm of law. It whispers, do something now, force it, fix it, and that very impulse creates new causes of chaos. You break the rhythm trying to accelerate it, and end up trapped in perpetual restarts. The true operator moves differently. He acts only when the inner signal aligns with the outer circumstance. He does not move from anxiety. He moves from precision. That precision is not control. It is resonance. It is sensing the current and knowing, now the tide is with me. Now it is time to act. This is what the ancients meant by divine timing. It was never superstition. It was synchronization. There are no delays in the cosmic mind, only alignments. Every cause you plant returns at the exact moment it can teach you the most. That is why some dreams take years to manifest, because you needed to become the version of yourself capable of sustaining their frequency. The law is not slow. You are simply catching up. What looks like waiting is often the law arranging the perfect stage for your effect to appear in harmony, not chaos. For the next week, practice this Hermetic ritual of timing. Observe the pendulum. Notice when you are in expansion, clarity, flow, abundance. Notice when you are in contraction, doubt, rest, silence. Don't resist either. In expansion, act with gratitude. In contraction, rest with faith. Speak this phrase aloud when impatience arises. The law is not late, it is exact. Anchor it physically. Place your hand over your heart. Feel the beat. That rhythm, your pulse, is the proof of order. You are never outside the rhythm. You are the rhythm embodied. The Hermetic operator learns to slow down his mind until it matches the universe's breath. Because mastery is not acceleration, it is synchronization. Those who rush break the sequence. Those who wait but remain conscious ride the rhythm like a wave of gold. What the impatient call stagnation, the wise call gestation. Between every cause and every effect exists the sacred silence of transformation. That silence is the sound of the universe translating your vibration into form. Now you understand that the universe never stops. It only oscillates. That rhythm protects the precision of the law. But there is a deeper layer still, one that explains why certain causes return amplified and others dissolve without trace. In the next stage, we'll explore the geometry of consequences, how energy moves in spirals, how karma is not punishment but feedback, and how every choice carries a signature that must complete its circuit. Because the law does not forget, it only waits for you to understand. Every action vibrates, every vibration travels, and everything that travels returns. You may think time erases. It doesn't. It only folds. Energy never disappears. It completes its circuit. The universe is a mirror made of spirals. Whatever you project, thought, word, action, travels through layers of space and psyche, and returns when the circle closes. That return is what the ancients called karma, not punishment, not moral bookkeeping, but geometry, the sacred mathematics of cause and effect. You are always walking inside your own echoes. Imagine throwing a stone into a still lake. The ripples expand outward, wide, soft, almost invisible. Eventually, they reach the shore. And what you don't see is that the waves return to the center. Every cause works like that. But because we live inside the lake, we mistake the returning wave for a new event. The Hermetic mind understands. Life is not linear. It's cyclical. Every cause spirals outward, collects experience, vibration, interaction, and returns transformed, amplified, refined. That's why certain lessons repeat, not because you failed, but because the vibration has not yet completed its learning curve. The law never punishes, it educates. Modern physics calls it feedback loops, systems that self-correct by receiving information about their own output. The cosmos functions the same way. It learns itself through us. Every experience you live is the universe receiving data about your vibration. And every correction life demands from you is not rejection, it's recalibration. You are not separate from the universal system. You are a node in the geometry of balance. The Hermetic operator learns to read the feedback not emotionally but symbolically. When something returns in pain, he asks, "What in me was incoherent with truth?" When something returns in harmony, he says, "The frequency was right." And so he refines himself, not out of guilt but precision. Imagine an infinite spiral of mirrors, each reflecting a slightly evolved version of your actions. When you act with anger, the reflection returns heavier. When you act with awareness, the reflection returns luminous. What you receive is never identical to what you sent. It's the evolved echo of it. That's why sometimes an act of love returns as freedom, and sometimes as solitude, because the universe refines the vibration until it matches your maturity. The more conscious you become, the subtler the feedback becomes. The more unconscious you are, the louder it needs to be. The universe speaks volume only when you stop listening to whispers. When pain returns, the mind screams, "It's unfair." But unfairness exists only when you look through a fragment of time. Justice in the Hermetic sense is not about reward or punishment. It's about coherence. Every vibration must return to harmony with the source. Every imbalance must oscillate until it finds stillness again. So when life shakes you, it's not cruelty. It's the recalibration of your field. The wise no longer say, "Why me?" They say, "What is this showing me about my vibration?" In that question, suffering turns to science. Pain becomes information, and life becomes laboratory. You can read your karma like a code. Every repetition is data. Recurring conflicts, you're meeting the same vibration wearing new faces. Sudden losses, something you attach to has completed its cycle. Unexplainable delays, your energy is out of sync with your desire. Alignment pending. Unexpected blessings, a vibration once forgotten has just completed its return. Coherent, luminous, deserved. The law is brutally fair, but its fairness is beauty, not cruelty. Because the moment you understand the return, you stop fearing it and begin designing it. The initiate doesn't wait for karma. He creates coherence in advance. Every night, he performs a ritual of alignment. He reviews his day without judgment. He identifies the vibrations he released: fear, resentment, clarity, compassion. And before sleep, he visualizes each returning as light. This practice neutralizes incoherence, because awareness purifies vibration. Conscious observation dissolves distortion. The law doesn't require perfection, only presence. The universe is not watching you, it's echoing you. It does not decide, it reflects. It doesn't punish, it harmonizes. Every law is love disguised as precision. Because love in its highest form is the insistence that everything returns to unity. That's why nothing in your life is random. Because the cosmos doesn't waste energy on accidents. Even your mistakes were exact. They were equations teaching you the geometry of consciousness. Once a week, take one recurring theme in your life, a conflict, a pattern, a fear, and draw it as a spiral on paper. Mark each point where it reappeared through the years. Notice how the outer loops resemble the inner ones, but with new context, new awareness. You'll see, your life was never circular. It was ascending. You weren't trapped in repetition. You were evolving through recursion. That's the hidden mercy of the law. It doesn't trap you in cycles. It lifts you through spirals. You've seen that every cause returns, and every return refines. But there's one more revelation still hidden, one that transforms the law from intellectual knowledge into living power. Because the Hermetic initiate learns not only to plant and receive, but to transmute, to intercept the return and refine it before it reaches him. In the next chamber, we'll enter the art of transmutation, where the operator becomes the alchemist, and karma turns into gold. Because while others suffer their consequences, you will learn to reforge them. Nothing is random, not even redemption. Every alchemist faces a moment of fire, the point where knowledge is no longer enough. Understanding the law won't save you from its heat. Only embodiment will, because the law of cause and effect is impartial. If you plant chaos, chaos will bloom. If you plant clarity, clarity will bloom. But what happens to the seeds you've already planted unconsciously? The ones returning now as pain, loss, or confusion? You can't erase them, but you can transmute them. That is the hidden mercy of the Hermetic path. You are not condemned by your causes. You are invited to reforge them. Transmutation is not denial. It is transformation through awareness. It doesn't mean pretending the pain isn't there. It means using the pain as material. The same way fire doesn't destroy iron, it purifies it. The alchemist's secret is this: everything that burns refines. Everything that hurts reveals density, ready to become light. When you stop resisting your effects and start observing them as unfinished energy, you discover the furnace within. That inner fire is not punishment, it's laboratory. Pain is just raw lead, waiting for the heat of consciousness to become gold. Picture an ancient furnace deep inside your chest, silent, glowing, waiting. Every emotion you repress becomes a piece of metal tossed into it. Fear, guilt, shame, regret, all waiting to melt. Most people keep that furnace cold. They fear the heat of awareness. But the Hermetic alchemist ignites it deliberately. He allows himself to feel, not to drown, but to observe while feeling. He breathes into the flame, saying, "This is energy, not identity." And by naming it, he releases its form. Awareness burns denser frequencies without violence. The flame of understanding consumes illusion, not essence. That's how karma becomes light. In modern terms, transmutation is the collapse of emotional resistance. When you resist an emotion, it persists, because resistance feeds attention, and attention sustains energy. When you observe an emotion without identification, you withdraw the current that sustains it. The vibration collapses back into neutrality. That collapse is transmutation. It's not metaphysical magic, it's psychological physics. You're turning a dense frequency into usable awareness. You're recycling energy instead of perpetuating it. That's why the Hermetic alchemist never fights his darkness. He refines it. Perform this ritual when you face returning karma, a painful situation, a heavy emotion, an old pattern. Center, sit in silence. Feel the weight without naming it bad. Breathe, inhale deeply into the sensation. Expand around it. Observe. Imagine the furnace in your chest igniting softly. Whisper, "I receive this energy." I free it by seeing it. Exhale slowly. Visualize the dense emotion turning to light vapor. Repeat until peace arises. Not forced calm, but true stillness. This is not fantasy. It's conscious chemistry, and every repetition strengthens your inner fire. Soon, the energy that once crushed you becomes the power that sustains you. Everything you've lived, every failure, every betrayal, every tear, is recyclable energy. Nothing is wasted in the Hermetic universe. No experience exists outside purpose. Your greatest mistakes hold your purest gold, because they contain the exact vibration you came here to refine. The alchemist looks at his past not with guilt, but with reverence, because he knows each shadow is a fragment of light, hidden inside an unrefined form. To transmute is to redeem yourself from misunderstanding. When the fire of awareness touches any vibration, illusion burns, truth remains. That is the whole mystery of Hermetic alchemy. You don't escape your causes, you illuminate them, and in that illumination, the pattern dissolves. So the past doesn't change, but its meaning does. And meaning is the highest form of matter. The true philosopher's stone is not a substance. It's a state of perception where every experience becomes usable light. Many fall into the illusion of positivity. They think transmutation means avoiding darkness. That's not light. That's blindness wearing a smile. Light doesn't flee from shadow. It integrates it. The alchemist's work is not to escape duality, but to reconcile it within. That's why Hermes was called thrice great. He mastered the three realms, mind, emotion, matter, and united them through consciousness. To transmute is to become whole, not pure, but integrated. When something unpleasant happens, don't react. Pause. Feel the vibration in your body. Ask silently, what cause is this revealing? Then, instead of resisting or justifying, use awareness as fire. Each time you do this, you rewrite the code. You end a karmic loop without needing to fix it externally. You alchemize energy in real time. This is how the invisible domino turns to gold. You've now reached the stage where understanding turns into embodiment. You've seen that. Nothing is random. Every cause has its effect. Every effect can be transmuted. But the Hermetic journey does not end in isolation. Because once the alchemist awakens, his task shifts, from refining himself to radiating coherence. In the final chamber, you will learn the ultimate secret of cause and effect. That your vibration doesn't just shape your life, it shapes the collective field of humanity. When one mind awakens to law, the geometry of the world begins to change. The last step is not power, it is service. You've learned the law, you've traced your causes, you've faced your returns, you've transmuted your pain into awareness. Now the journey shifts, because the final step of the Hermetic path is not to control reality, it's to become reality in coherence. When the initiate crosses the final threshold, he realizes the universe is not happening to him, nor for him. It is happening as him. That is the true meaning of nothing is random, because once you become conscious cause, you and the cosmos breathe the same rhythm. The alchemist no longer asks for results. He vibrates the cause and trusts the effect. His mind is silent. His emotions are aligned. His presence is order. When he walks into a room, the field harmonizes, not because he says anything, but because his coherence silently instructs the environment. He doesn't argue with darkness. He radiates light until darkness remembers it was light too. This is the ultimate manifestation, not to create things, but to stabilize worlds. Imagine two tuning forks. Strike one, the other begins to vibrate in the same frequency. That's how reality responds to you now. Not through wishful thinking, but through resonance. Your state is the signal. Your integrity is the command. When you embody the Hermetic law, you stop trying to bend reality, because reality bends naturally toward coherence. You've become a tuning fork of order in a world of noise. Never underestimate what happens when a single consciousness becomes coherent. Every thought you emit travels through the collective field. Every act of awareness weakens the architecture of illusion. Every choice aligned with law sends a correction wave across humanity's psychic ocean. That's how civilizations evolve, not by force but by frequency. When one human becomes cause, many others awaken by resonance. That's why awakening is not selfish. It's service disguised as solitude. The Hermetic sages said, "The higher controls the lower, the inner governs the outer." You are now that higher. You are the inner principle manifesting through form. From this state, even stillness acts. Even silence creates. Because your mere being radiates causality. You've become the architecture itself, the invisible order that sustains all visible forms. That's why masters rarely speak of miracles. For them, miracles are just laws well understood. Every day, seal your vibration consciously. Before leaving your home, whisper this: I walk as cause, not consequence. I act as order within the field. I radiate coherence and the world organizes around it. This is not poetry, it's command. Because words are not decoration, they are geometry made sound. Speak them slowly. Feel them vibrate in your bones. That's how you imprint law into matter. Most people think freedom means absence of rules. But in Hermetic wisdom, freedom is alignment with law. Because chaos is not liberation, it's noise. and noise consumes energy. The more you align with cause and effect, the freer you become, not because life stops testing you, but because you stop mistaking the test for chaos. True mastery is not escaping consequence. It's understanding that consequence is conversation. When life answers you, it's not correcting. It's continuing the dialogue you began. That's freedom, to speak consciously with existence. Everything you lived, everything you lost, everything that seemed random, was precise. Every storm was balancing something you couldn't yet see. Every silence was rearranging your geometry. The law was never outside of you. It was breathing through your thoughts, through your mistakes, through your awakening. You are not in the universe. You are the universe remembering itself as order. Nothing was random, not even your confusion, because the moment you began to question it, the chain was already leading you here, to remembrance. If you've reached this point, it means something in you has already shifted frequency. Declare it in the comments, not for me, but as a seal of your initiation. I walk as cause. Write it, anchor it, because the moment you declare, you crystallize vibration into geometry, and from that day on, nothing you live will ever feel random again. If this message awakened something in you, if you felt the echo of law vibrating through your chest, then don't stop here, because Hermetic transformation is a spiral, not a line. It deepens with every return. The next video isn't another step, it's the continuation of the same initiation. So subscribe, stay in the temple, keep walking the path, because the law of cause and effect is not just something to learn, it's something to become. And when you live as the law, you stop seeking signs. You become one.